Welcome, fellow freaks, geeks, and nostalgic peeps, to my channel, Slime and Slashers, where, we talk about everything from Nickelodeon slime to horror movie slashers, but plenty of stuff in between, including books. My voice cracked there, but anyway, including books. And today, it is another book-themed video, but not just any book-themed video. Oh no. No. It is my favorite of all time book-themed video. It is a book haul! So, stay right where you are. We'll go right to the short intro, and when we come back, I will show you all the freaking books. Welcome back, guys. All right, let's get right into it. First up, we have a V.C. Andrews book. This is the first in a series. This is Ruby. And you open it up, and there is a really creepy, awesome step back cover. I'm going to show you close up in 1 second. Here we go. Look at this. Freaking really creepy. I love this step back art.
I'm a giant grandpa!
I don't know why he's so big. I guess he could be a ghost. I don't know. Next up, we have Hush, Little Baby by Judy Miller. Judy Miller is the author of this really cool book that has a cover with like a skeleton, and you open it up and it's like there's a ballerina girl and she's being held by the skeleton. I think that's Judy Miller. And also like a soap opera type of frickin' book with this like cape on the front. Anyway, I've got those books, but it's nice to have another Judy Miller book. There's a freaking baby and he's been being held by this kind of menacing dude in a mask, like,
Come here, little tyke.
That's so dumb.
Don't cry, little one. There are strange secret things you can't understand. Like the barren husband and wife who would have done anything to have a baby. Like the woman who thought it was her God-given calling to bear children for childless couples. Like the cool, reassuring doctor who could arrange everything for a price. Don't cry, even though the secrets they keep will soon begin to torture them, soon grow into the madness and the violence and the terror. Don't cry. Maybe something can still save you. Hush now. Hush, little baby.
By the way, this was published by Pocket in 1983. Next up, we have Dreamer by Daniel Quinn. And I just read the back of the book, and it sounds badass, honestly. So I'm going to have to read you the back of the book, too. But I'll just read you the tagline first. It says,
When dream and reality mix, the result is a deadly nightmare. For love, Greg Donna would travel to hell and back. Dream, nightmare, waking life, which was which? Awake, Greg Donner falls in love with Jenny Winters, a beautiful woman with a mysterious past. Asleep, Greg dreams of pursuing Jenny through a strangely altered and deserted Chicago. Awake, Richard is imprisoned in a sanatorium in Kentucky and trapped in a loveless marriage to Jenny Winters. Asleep, Richard dreams he is Greg Donner, and when he wakes, he is Greg Donner, but Jenny is gone. Terrified, not knowing when sleep will once again transform his life, Greg searches desperately for answers and for a key to reality, but the demons of his nightmares are now stalking the waking world, unless he is still asleep. Reality is truly what you make it. Dreamer!
Next up, we have Teacher's Pet. And it says,
A vicious schoolgirl, a tormented teacher, a deadly lesson in terror and revenge.
Look at this awesome looking cover. I'm in an apple! This edition was published by Jove in 1989. I believe this was originally published in 1987. Spine's kind of rough, but I don't mind. This I had to have for the cover alone. It's not even freaking a horror book. I think it's more of a mystery book, but look at this. It's like an old school hockey mask with skulls in the eye holes. Amazing. And I actually like hockey. It's like one of the few things in terms of sports that I like. So yes, Hammered Gold. It's basically about a plot to something about leaving the best Olympic contenders dead, crippled, and ruined. Only one man can stop them, Joe, sports broadcaster for NBC, who will now risk his reputation, his lover, and his life to run to ground a cunning assassin and the gamesman, the unknown mastermind of this deadly intrigue, still trusted by everyone, even the President of the United States. Here we have Playing Murder by Sandra Scopatone. This is the same author as Such Nice People, which is one of my favorite old school vintage horror books. So this isn't exactly horror, and the cover isn't, amazing or anything, and there is a sticker here, which I'll try to get off eventually, but I wanted it purely because it's the same author as Such Nice People, and I was like, what the hell, why not? So this is from Harper Keypoint. And let's see when this was published. It was published in 1985. And yeah, like I said, I kind of wanted it just because of the author and loving her other books so much. Here we have Night Thirst. There's a freaking rock and roll looking vampire on the cover. This is by Patrick Whalen. I've got a couple of books by him, and I'm excited about this.
If you're flesh and blood, stay off the streets.
Because this dude's gonna get you. Look at his hair. It's all, like, spiky, kind of. I like it a lot. He's a very metal punk vampire. Very cool. This was published by Pocket. And it was published in 1991. Some of the most cheesy best horror books are from 1990s in general, so yes, yes! Here we have Witch Hunt, and this is a pretty cool cover.
Surrounded by the darkest evil, she was a woman possessed.
And this just looks cool, that's why I got it. This is another Pocket book, and it was published in 1990. Here we have Fever Dream by George R.R. Martin. He is known for the Game of Thrones books, but he wrote this book back in the day. I think this was published originally in 1983. Let me look, double check here. Originally in 1982, this first Pocket book's printing is from 1983. Nice embossed font here. I gotta get the sticker off, which should be no problem.
Across the twilight of fear, the red-drenched, terrifying dream begins.
And it's like this southern steamboat with vampires. So, I just thought the edition looked to be in pretty darn good shape. Look at this spine, crisp and pristine. I was like, I must have it. So yeah, I got it. And who knows when I'll get to it, but I really just wanted to pick it up and have it for my collection. Here we have a Claire McNally book. I have a couple of her books. This is Relations, Blood is Thicker Than Water. Yeah. Whatever, stupid. Alright, so there's a creepy-ass doll we could see. This is another one with a step-back cover art. It's got a cutout, so we open it up, and it's a little girl with her dolly. I'll show you a close-up. But before I do, let me just tell you, this was published by Tor, and it was published in 1996.
Leave me and my doll alone, bitch.
That's exactly what she looks like to be saying, in my opinion. Love this artwork. Love it so much. Here we have Ghost Story by Peter Straub. I've already read this. I love this book. I have a new edition of this. That's how I read it back in December of last year. But I saw this vintage copy in such great condition. Like, the spine looks pristine, and I couldn't pass it up. Even though this is not a first printing, I'll still be on the lookout for a first printing. This is like a 20th printing, because this was a popular book back in the day, so that's no surprise. But I really, really wanted a copy of this old school edition, and it just looks so good. Just gotta get the sticker off, which I'm not that worried about. Again, this is another Pocket book, so I have a lot of books published by Pocket in this specific haul for some reason, but that's just a coincidence. By the way, a lot of these books came from Denver, some of them came from Milwaukee, but mostly from Denver. Here we have a simple tour cover. This is a Brian Lumley book. Of course, a lot of people know him for writing the Necroscope series, which I haven't read yet, but I do own. This is Hero of Dreams, and this is a tour edition. It was originally published in the 80s, but this edition was published in 1993. So originally, Hero of Dreams was published back in 1986. Just got some silhouettes with different things in them, like a painting workshop, a cave. So there's some bats up here, I believe. Yeah, bats. Here we have Books of Blood by Clive Barker. This is not a first printing, but I've never ever seen a vintage copy of Books of Blood out in the wild, and I've been looking for it like for a long time. So it's like, even though this is not a first printing, I think it's a second printing from 1986, I was like, I'm still getting it. I do have a new edition of the Books of Blood volumes, I think 1 through 3. This is volume 1 of Books of Blood, and I just am happy to have like a vintage copy with this cool ass cover. That's all I could ask for. This was published by Berkeley, by the way. Heck yeah. Bring on the blood. This is a really like graphic, gory like collection of stories, and I'm really intrigued to get to it one day. I really need to read more Clive Barker. As of now, I've only read The Hellbound Heart, which I do really love, so I was happy to find this though in the wild. Here we have a book from 2001. This is A Lower Deep, and I bought it purely for the cover. We see this really creepy looking clown dude. Reminds me of Art the Clown in a way, you know, from the movies Terrifier and Terrifier 2. But anyway, I really don't like leisure editions, especially because they hardly ever have embossed text, so it's very hard. Sometimes they do, but it's very hard to figure out if it's a first printing because it doesn't have a normal number line on the inside. And this is just a typical thing with leisure books, so they're not my favorite to collect, to be honest with you, just because I can't tell what the heck I'm looking at in terms of is this a first printing or not, etc., etc. But, I mean, the cover, incredible.
Bring me my tricycle, bitch.
I don't know why he would say that. Anyway, look at this. Amazing, amazing cover. Next up, I really just like the color scheme of this book. We have Blood Lies by Patricia Wallace. This is more of a suspense book. In fact, it is categorized on the spine as zebra suspense, but I just thought, why not? Here we have Something's Calling Me Home by Maxine O'Callaghan, and I just like haunted house type of covers, and this one's definitely one of those. It's another Pocket book. You could see the Pocket logo up here. It says,
A lonely little girl's obsession, a savage web of danger and terror.
Here we have another Claire McNally book, Good Night, Sweet Angel. And there's a scared looking girl.
Oh, help me.
But when we open it up, again, it's a step back. We see there's a menacing other little girl back here. Like,
I'm gonna get you, bitch.
oh, why? She's got a little dolly, too. Next up, a Mark Morris book, one of my kind of new-to-me favorite authors, because I've read 2 books by him and have loved them, including one of his books landed on my top 20 horror books of all time, in terms of, like, my top 20 favorites. And yeah, he's just marvelous. I'll read anything by him. I have a whole collection of his books that I bought online, but I didn't buy this one. This is a newer Mark Morris book. This is The Deluge. And this was published in 2007. So like I said, it's newer, but because it was Mark Morris, I was like, yes, I must get it. It's a leisure book. And
It came from nowhere. The only warning was the endless rumbling of a growing earthquake. Then the water came, crashing, rushing water, covering everything, destroying everything. When it stopped, all that was left was the gentle lapping of waves against a few remaining buildings rising above the surface of the sea. Will the isolated survivors be able to rebuild their lives, their civilization, when nearly all they knew has been wiped out? It seems hopeless, but what lurks beneath the swirling water, waiting to emerge, is far worse. When the floodwaters finally recede, the true horror will be revealed.
Here we have Death Angel by J.N. Williamson. There's a couple of books in this like death series. I think I have Death Coach or something where it's like a stagecoach. It's like a vampire book, and I think it's a woman vampire. Yes, it is. And yeah, the Zacharias series, that's what this is. And it's really cool. This has a embossed coffin with like silver flecks on it. This was published by Zebra. Always excited to find a Zebra book in the wild. It's very rare. This was published in 1981. These next two books, I already owned copies of them, but I wanted different editions. Here we have Swan Song. It is not a first printing, but it was in such great condition that I had to get this old school copy because I don't have an old school copy of Swan Song. I bought a new edition, and when I read it earlier this year for my book club, the Midnight Book Society, we all read it. I read it using audio and a new edition that was not as cool looking as this. So, and even though it is not a first printing, I think it's like a third printing, but that's still fairly early on for this. This was first published in 1987. This edition is by Pocket. Really, 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 I'm excited to have this. It is embossed on the front. And this is like my third or fourth edition of Usher's Passing. I have a hardcover. I have a different paperback edition that I really like with the big pumpkin on it. But when I saw this, I could not pass it up because it's like a creepy ass moon. And it just looks so off-putting. And then there's a dude carrying a boy. It actually is an amazing paperback. I'm very excited to have this too. It's just so fun to have different editions of books you really enjoy. This is a Ballantine Books edition. And this edition specifically is from the late 1980s. Here we have Love Child by Andrew Niederman. I do like Niederman as far as I can tell. I read Pin and really enjoyed it, so I'm excited to read more by him. This is a Tor book, and it was published in 1986. Here we have a Whitley Strieber book, and this is Majestic, The Government Lied. This is a Berkeley book. See the alien on the cover. Pretty cool. Very shiny.
I'm a shiny alien.
Found home. Found home. It's so dumb. I don't know. Ignore me. Next up, I was so jazzed to find a Lisa Tuttle vintage book in the wild. I love Lisa Tuttle. I've read 2 books by her. 1, Familiar Spirit. 2, The Nest of Nightmares, which is a collection of short stories. Love them both. And so this is Gabriel. I think I have friends. Was it Alex the Bookubus? And was it Juan who buddy read this? And it was like creepy. Maybe I'm wrong. Alex, if you watch this, let me know if it's the book I'm thinking about, where it's like the woman's husband, the spirit of him is embodied in a young kid, and it's like kind of creepy.
Dinah's husband is dead. His love for her lives on.
And see, like, there's a young kid with like the husband ghost behind the kid. That's creepy. That's creepy. I don't know. Still very excited to own this and to have found it. And last of the adult vintage horror paperbacks, we have Spectre by Stephen Laws. I have already read this. I used like a digital copy to read it back earlier this year and loved it. This book is great. I am so happy to have found a vintage copy. So essentially there's like this photograph of these old college friends that they all have, and they start to see people in their photograph disappearing, and so they try to get together and investigate what's going on. There's like an awesome part with like a dummy doll. Oh my god, it's so good. I really loved this book. I gotta recommend it. It's a great vintage read. It's wacky, it's fun. There are some slower parts, but like for the most part, I really enjoyed it, and I think I rated it like a 4 or a 4.5 maybe even. This edition was published by Tor, and yeah, I can't believe I found it. Alright, and now let's just go over some of the hardcovers I found. Alright, so here we have Hot Blood, which is erotic horror from Lawrence Block, Ramsey Campbell, Nancy Holder, and others, edited by Jeff Gleb and Michael Garrett. So I've seen the paperback versions of these because it's more than one. I think they came out with a few, but I was happy to find this. I was like, I want to read the stories. It sounds wild. It would be perfect for Garb August. If you guys didn't know, that's a readathon going on this month. And yeah, this would be a good one for that. Probably one of the finds that I'm most excited about was a hardcover copy of Silver Scream, edited by David Shao, and this is so awesome that I found this. Silver Scream. See, they're in a movie theater. It's kind of like the vibe of the collection. Next up, this is not really a vintage book, but I wanted to get it specifically because of the author. This is a book by Kealan Patrick Burke, and I think it's out of print now. And actually, this one's signed by the author. It says this is Midlisters? I don't even know how to say that word. And I just have really liked the two books I've read by Kealan Patrick Burke this year, which is Blanky and Sour Candy. I really, really love them both. And I'm excited because this looks crazy. Heck yeah, look how creepy that is. Again, this is from 2007, so it's not vintage per se, but here's the signature. Pretty damn cool.
Meet Jason, a writer of violent horror novels whose career is firmly stoked in a maddening swamp of frustration somewhere north of nowhere and south of success. He is a midlister.
Okay, midlister. Why couldn't I read that?
He is a midlister. Those thankless souls who labor in the shadows of sometimes better, sometimes luckier writers, and it's starting to take its toll. Meet Kent, wildly popular author of a string of so-called sex-fi novels. He's wealthy, handsome, and the object of Jason Tennett's professional jealousy. Welcome to Baltimore, Maryland, and the Ur Science Fiction and Horror Convention, where these two men, midlister and bestseller, will meet for the first time, and the midlister motto, better read than dead,
Better read than
dead, will be put to the ultimate test.
And last but not least, I found a hardcover copy of The Thief of Always by Clive Barker. Now this is a middle grade, kind of younger appropriate book by Clive Barker, but Clive Barker is known for writing adult horror for the most part, and fantasy or dark fantasy. I do have a paperback version of this, but this is like so much better, and the quality of the hardcover is a lot better than the paperback that I found of The Thief of Always. So I snagged this, and it was for a decent price, and I was like, oh hell yeah. I'm very, very jazzed to have found this because it's a book I definitely want to read. I've heard great things. I know my friend Katrina over the channel Katrina Brown recently read this and loved it, so I'm very pumped to finally get to it at some point. And it just looks awesome. Look at the back. Freaking amazing. Okay guys, that was it. That was all of the horror books that I wanted to haul for you today. I do have more hauls that I would like to film, showing you the vintage YA and the vintage middle grade. It just would have taken way too long, and this video was already long in my opinion, if I showed you all of it today. But more will be coming soon, and I appreciate you guys checking out the channel. If you're new here, please consider subscribing because it would mean a lot. And if you're returning, thank you so much for sticking with me. I appreciate each and every one of you, and always, always extra appreciate any time you spend to watch my videos. For this time though, like I said, that is it for me. Till next time guys, you know what you can do. Keep on killing it. Bye guys.